I don't want to cross someone named Scarface.
Whose nickname is Scarface.
Right. Who has the biggest
Miss
hog?
America. Like, who has prettiest hog? It's like a dog. It's a hog show!
This is too heavy.
It's too thick. The thing's like a fucking cannon.
It's triple insulated, babe.
Okay. They're all gross.
I don't like your dad.
There's not a cutie in the patootie. Not a single one of the bunch.
Looks like a dad, but not my dad.
The only crime we commit is the crime of too many smiles and too much laughter.
Oh, too much
and that's
rain.
ours. So you can take that to the bank. Viewer discretion is advised.
I'm ready.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Sure do.
Oh my gosh. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Lucy.
And we are super, super pumped about this week's episode. My loins are feeling the vibration of my hog.
Hog girl winter?
It's kind of a hog girl winter moment, but like a different kind of hog. And this taps into my dreams to found the Lollipop Guild, my scooter gang. So
I remember you telling me about that when you scooted to the Monte Carlo to meet my mom and myself.
Bitch, I made a logo so that I could put it on jackets.
Wait, I need a jacket. I don't have a scooter. Can I have a jacket?
Of course you could have a jacket. You could be an honorary member.
Are they denim?
They could be denim. They could be members only. They could be leather. They could have fringe.
We'll get to the leather.
But if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, this week's episode is a very special fan pick from the lovely Justin White, who has selected biker crimes like bikes, like
motorcycles.
Motorcycle crimes.
You know, murr.
You know, get on my hog.
Not bicycle crimes.
No.
Although that could be its own thing. That'd be good for Ragbri season.
It would be really good for Ragbri season. Take note, Ragbri crime.
Oh, Ragbri
crime.
Ragbri.
That's actually really fucking hard to say.
Ragbri
crime. Anyway, that's not this. We're just thinking about future possibilities.
Also, most of our listeners are wondering what the fuck Ragbri is, because I don't think the average Joe has that on their radar.
Probably not, but you'll have to wait for the Ragbri crimes episode that we
find out.
Might do one day. That day is not today. Today, we are discussing biker crimes, and I have a recommendation today from our fan picker, Justin. Thank you so much for picking this topic. Who wanted to shout out Busted Grapes Winery of Black River, New York for this episode. Which is like busted. Shocking, but fucking busted, which is shockingly fitting, at least with my case today. I don't know what you'll be covering in your segment, but I've got some busted ass folks who got busted as fuck. And you could get real busted on a motorcycle if you're not careful.
You can get busted in a motorcycle gang.
If you are careful. And again, yeah.
Different kind of busted.
Right. So bustedgrapeswine.com is their website, and their website is wild. Okay. I love a local winery. I love supporting a local business. And I love when said local business has a website that reminds me of like the old Heaven's Gate cult website. It's just like so out of date and like I was Greg. I'm not trying to like ragbri on them, but if y'all need a little bit of a website update, you should reach out to us because we have an amazing producer and web designer. Andrea does great work. So just let us know if you want to be brought into 2024. Okay, Busted Grapes.
I'm not gonna like fully divulge my later content, but we'll circle back to horrible websites.
Yeah.
Like really outdated, janky ass website.
I'm obsessed. I love it. So their website is super wild and super cute. I loved their origin story, so I will share that with you now. Two people very much in love with each other got this crazy idea. Why don't we learn how to make wine?
Was this
Why
a
not? Why
pandemic
not?
project?
It's not. I think they were founded before the panini, but
Oh.
why not?
Why
To
not learn
sum
to make
up-
sourdough?
I mean, no, I don't want to have to deal with starter or like mother.
Mother.
I can't with
Yeast
mother.
rising.
I have enough yeast to deal with. I don't need it in my kitchen.
I have enough mother.
Accurate. To sum up what could be a long story, after some blood, sweat, several swear words, and lots of tears, that, my friends, is how Busted Grapes was born.
That, my friends, is what is in Busted Grapes wines.
Blood, sweat, tears, farts.
Swear words.
Swear words. It has and continues to be our mission to be involved in every aspect of our business by planting, pruning, and harvesting our cold, hardy grapes, because this is upstate New York. It's cold up there. Building our little rustic winery from the ground up, perfecting our wine recipes to appeal to various tastes, and working in our tasting room and taking the time to visit with all of our customers that come in. I love wineries, breweries, things like this that are so small, where literally the people that you're ordering your glass of wine or glass of beer, whatever, from are the same people who made it.
Yes, I love that too.
It's a really cool experience. So, I mean, I think if you have access to something like that near where you live, I highly encourage you to check them out, because you're getting like a great experience with people who are knowledgeable and also very passionate and proud of the product that they're serving you. And that just comes through in the service. I think that's so cool.
They're serving you their baby. And also you visiting them makes an enormous impact.
It does. So this goes on to say, we want all our visitors to have a memorable, fun experience with the added perk of great tasting wine. Life is sometimes hectic, but when you come into our world, you will be tempted to forget about the craziness, maybe for just a few wonderful minutes, but sometimes that is all that it takes. Occasionally, everyone needs a timeout, so why not let us be part of yours? This is so fucking cute. We strive to create a feeling of belonging to our family in a good way, in parentheses, which I love. It's like, not everybody has a great experience with their family, so we gotta...
I don't want to be part of your family.
We promise it's in a good way. Busted Grapes welcomes not only adults, but also families with their children in tow. Time spent with family is never time wasted. We want to become part of your extended family, and we will be your favorite crazy cousins that you always have fun with. As someone with a lot of crazy cousins, that appeals to me directly.
They're like the Olive Garden.
Yeah, when you're here, your family at Busted
smaller
Winery.
And better.
Yeah, but I could use some breadsticks.
Yeah.
I also wanted to flag that they are hosting an event for the 2024 solar eclipse, because they're in the line of totality.
Which is where?
Upstate New York. They're in, what's it called? Black River, New York. And the line of totality goes from like the top northeast corner of the U.S. down across like Texas and into Mexico.
Oh,
I know.
God.
How fun is that?
We have to plan our road trip because
I know. Well, you're gonna hate me, but I'm gonna be out of town for my cousin's wedding. You're not the first.
Scott and I will plan our road trip.
Yeah, you guys go. You guys go and just FaceTime me, and I'll answer on the dance floor.
Our eclipse experience is the best experience of my entire life.
It's like a core memory that we made 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, it was pre-pandemic. It was earlier than 2019 because I was still with Blam.
Oh, really?
No, I wasn't. That was a different trip. No, I was. Because I remember we went to a wedding together that night. And then he was thinking about coming on that trip, but then said no. And I got in my car after that wedding and drove through the night with Scott to get down to Des Moines. And then we woke up at the crack of dawn to go
to
Nebraska. To
you guys got there at like 2 a.m, didn't you?
Yeah, it was late because I didn't even pick Scott up until after 9.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. The
that was
oops that we jumped through.
So that had to have been like 2018.
I think it was 2018.
Because I think that Blan and I broke up like not long after that.
Well, we have our
If you're not
commemorative
going to
shirts.
come with me, yeah. We did.
I'm
We got
so
our
glad
eclipse
he didn't
shirts.
come with.
I know.
Can you imagine how much different our memories would be if Dan was there? I mean,
Yeah.
actually, for me, not that
Bland.
different because I tend to block out like extra people
Men.
from my memories. Men, excluding Scott, obviously.
Of course. I add Scott to my memories. I replace unfavorable men just with Scott in my memories to make them palatable. I'm sure
fair.
Scott would not be happy about that, but too bad you can't control my memories, Scott.
It's one thing you can't control.
It's one thing you can't control. So they talked about their cold weather wines. They do have a wide variety of wines to choose from. Now, full disclosure, they don't ship. This is like a small enough operation that I think the only way you're able to get the wine is by going into their location and tasting it in their tasting room. And I'm sure you could buy bottles in their tasting room. So I highly recommend anybody who lives anywhere near Black River, New York, to go check them out. Tell them Wine and Crime sent ya. But they have a variety of wines to choose from, all made from their own grapes, grown on their vineyard in upstate New York. And you'll notice a lot of similarities with what grows here in Minnesota and what grows up there. Because I was looking through their wines and I was like, oh, I know that grape. I know that grape. I know that grape. It makes sense. The climates are really, really similar.
Same latitude.
Same latitude. And because upstate New York is more, I guess, impacted by like lake effect weather from their Great Lakes, they actually get a lot more precipitation, including snow, than Minnesota does.
Really?
Yeah. People forget that Minnesota literally gets too cold to snow.
Mm-hmm.
It like won't snow when your temperature is negative 20 degrees.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're a little bit more temperate, but like having lived in Rochester, upstate New York winters suck.
Because of all the snow.
The snow is brutal. And if you're anywhere near Buffalo, I mean, they just get rocked like every year. It's wild and it like does not stop. But there's just like clouds that sit and rotate over the Great Lakes, like Erie and I think Ontario are like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it could get real cloudy and real gloomy for the winter. So you need wine if you're living up there.
God, this is weather and crime.
Yeah, it is Weather and Crime now.
I
So
love it.
hit us up, Weather Channel. But they have
Again.
Bring that partnership back. I want to re-pitch the Gals Go Storm Chasing. I can't believe they slept
You and
on
me
that.
both.
Put us in a van and we will find a tornado.
Let's just film a pilot.
You know what?
We've got enough tornadoes coming.
We have plenty. We've got the weather. Bill has a van and a bunch of camera equipment. What else do you need?
Life insurance.
What, like it's hard? I have life insurance.
I have life insurance.
All right,
let's
we're
go,
set.
baby.
Strap in. Go. Strap in.
We're gonna need a bigger van.
We are gonna need a bigger van.
So
they have wines. They have wines that feature Marquette and Frontenac grapes, both of which, depending on how they're handled, can yield a range of results on the dry to sweet spectrum. They have other varietals as well, but like Lucy, you wouldn't go to their website and find just like a Sauv Blanc. But you'd find something comparable to a Sauv Blanc. And you could ask one of their very knowledgeable taproom people
Can I just
what
say
to guide you to.
that since I've been back in the wine drinking game,
What are you leaning toward?
I've been branching out and I had a glass of red wine, but I don't remember what kind it was.
You chose red wine on your own?
I didn't choose it, but I drank it.
And did you like it?
Yeah.
Do you remember the shape
I don't know
of
if it was
the
like
bottle?
I think it was a Pinot Noir.
Okay. Was the bottle, did it look like me where it's like a little small on top and then it has a big butt?
Yeah.
Okay. That's most likely a Pinot Noir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like it.
It was great.
Okay.
Also, I'm drinking I know this isn't that far from a Sauvignon Blanc, but a Pinot Grigio.
I love Pinot Grigio.
Mm-hmm. That's been really speaking to me. So
okay.
Maybe this new chapter in my life includes
more
than
wine.
just Sauvignon
Red
Blanc.
wine.
More wine.
Well, if you find yourself at Busted Grapes Winery and you're looking for something on the drier side, looking at their menu, would lean toward their Marquette Red. And if you are wanting to go on the sweeter side, they have one that looks really fun. It's their Frontenac Blanc, which is like an almost tropical sweeter white.
Oh.
Now, like I mentioned, I am not able to access this wine, but my husband got me little pink mini rolling papers.
That's pink?
Yes.
Oh
it's
my
pink.
God. All you need is a mini rolling paper.
It's hard to tell in this light. So I'm going to toke up. Are you drinking anything over there?
I have a drink in the other room, but right now
Why is it not in the room with you? Call your husband.
I've been drinking out of my enormous Mother Stanley mug.
Are you one of those fucking Stanley bitches now?
I didn't think that I was, and it's matte black. It's 64 ounces. It is the size of... It's the height of my head. Look.
I have to send you those TikToks of people pretending they have a Stanley cup, but they're just holding like an entire trash can and like slamming it down on a desk. Or someone had like a full coffee pot. It was these huge, absurd fucking cups.
It is so fucking stupid and ridiculous, and it takes forever to fill up, but it's really nice not having to get up to like refill my water.
Listen, I love not having to get up, so I feel you.
Yeah.
But
it's big, and I do drink a lot of water. This is not an ad.
Did you like knock over a bunch of teenage girls to get their Valentine's Stanley at Target last week that came out?
No.
All right. Well, clearly you're not on Stanley talk.
Well, I don't like pink, and this is I only have 2 Stanleys, and it's this huge black one and a different white one that I bought. Because before I knew what Stanley cups were.
It's really weird to me that you don't like pink. But anyway, I love that you're getting hydrated. I'm also drinking some water. I also have a backup apple juice. And I think we are pretty much ready to rock and roll.
Mm-hmm. I could go get a drink.
And we're back. And Lucy, it is your turn to take the handlebars.
Oh!
Uh-oh. That weed's kicking in.
Wheel. That didn't take long.
Oh, no!
Also, oh, no. I forgot my bones again. Oh, wait. Here they are.
No psych?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's a lot of history.
Missed that sound.
I know.
I love that sound. A lot of history. Okay. I like that.
Let's call it an origin story.
Hashtag bike facts.
Bike facts. Okay, so according to the History Channel, in the early 1900s, motor bicyclists often got together in riding clubs for fun.
Riding clubs for fun?
These early motor bicyclists would ride vehicles that resembled beach cruiser bicycles with a loud motor between the wheels.
Amazing.
They've always been loud.
They have.
We'll get to the noise.
My scooter is even loud.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
These bikes were adding chaos to the American streets, and many cities wanted to restrict their use. A flashback to skateboarding crimes, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
In response, many bikers began to organize to fight the restrictions, put together events, and expand their groups.
Oh.
One such example.
You got to be careful with this accent, because the last time I smoked Bill's weed, I was at a game night with Robbie and Aaron and at their house, and we just passed a joint around. And we were playing like a mystery game. It's amazing. You would fucking love it. It's called Mysterium. And it's like one person is a ghost. And the ghost has pictures that they give you so that it's essentially Clue, but the ghost is communicating with you through these like beautiful cards of images. And using those cards, you're trying to understand the hints that the ghost is telling you. And
like
then
tarot cards?
No, they're like, well, yeah, they're like the size of a tarot card, but they are just different like artist renderings of whatever, like all kinds of weird shit.
Oh.
They're like dreamlike imagery. And then you try to match using those hints who the ghost is trying to tell you is like the person, location, and murder weapon for this crime that happened.
Okay.
It's really, really, really fun, but we were super high.
It's like Pictionary.
Pictionary meets Clue, but you don't draw. You just interpret.
Cool.
It's really fucking cool. But I got trapped in a bit with that voice. So I was just like a 1920s detective.
What is that, like Mid-Atlantic?
I don't know, but one of the murder weapons was a jack-in-the-box.
Bad.
He killed his wife with a jack-in-the-box. So I did
that
that for about
Jack
4
popped
hours.
out with some force. How do you
Killed
kill
her.
someone with a jack-in-the-box?
The jack-in-the-box was closed, and he beat her over the head with a jack-in-the-box.
Whoa.
So tell us more about
myself
motorcycle.
with my cord.
Tell us more about motorcycle bikes, little lady.
With a plum. Okay.
With a plum? Oh, with a plum.
A plum. A single plum.
It's like plums are not in season. He killed her with a plum.
So quick anecdote, when my parents were helping me redo my house, rebuild my house.
Yeah. Well, it needed it. Let's all be very clear. She wasn't just doing like a fun remodel. They bought something that was budgeted to be fixed. Mama was rough.
It was priced budgeted wise.
Correct.
But then we moved in and I was like, oh, the frame is at an angle and
it's collapsing before my eyes.
Good thing my dad loves his YouTube videos and his brother is a contractor anyway. So a plum, you use a plum. It's just a weight on the end of a string to figure out what's a straight line down.
And it's called a plum?
Plum.
Cute.
A plum. Grab the plum.
God. A plum. All right. Love that.
Full of fun facts here today at Wine and Grape.
Oh,
Wine
yeah.
and
We have plum here at Wine and Grape. We have plum here.
In 1903, 93 bikers,
motorcycle bicyclists,
met to form the Federation of American Motorcyclists, or FAM, in Brooklyn.
Okay, so this is like a legit thing. It's like a big thing that is still in existence today.
FAM is not. We'll get to it.
Okay.
But there is an official organization.
Okay, because there's something like that in my case, and I was kind of snickering, like, how much authority does this fucking thing have? And you're going to tell me, basically.
There was quite a lot of organization involved, and that is essentially the entirety of my segment. So we will get to it. We're getting to it now.
Great. I love it.
This federation's constitution sought to encourage the use of motorcycles and promote motorcyclists' general interests, defend and protect their rights, advise and assist in regulating motorcycle competitions, and assist in what's called the Good Roads movement.
Are you going to go deeper on motorcycle competitions, or can I Google some pictures of and from motorcycle competitions? Because I am muy curious.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it. I have a feeling it's basically just like races. Like,
I want it to be like
who has the biggest
Miss
hog?
America, like who has prettiest hog, it's like it's a hog show.
I'm pretty sure it's just races.
Best in show, prettiest hog.
Please do Google, because
it's
didn't.
races. This is really boring.
Yeah. So the Good Roads movement, I feel like this should have been something we learned in like American history in high school. But this was a national political movement that started in the 1870s to improve rural roads.
Rural roads.
Because they're terrible. I mean, like, they're dirt, so they're dusty in the summertime and like muddy and icy and gross in the wintertime. So
I need somebody who understands AI art, or isn't actually preferable is an artist, to make fan art of like a Miss America pageant, but they're all motorcycles, like anthropomorphized motorcycles on a stage, like in their swimwear,
Speak
trying
it
to
into
be the best.
in high heels. The wheels are stuffed into heels.
Ish.
High
Almost.
wheels.
High wheels.
5-inch wheels.
Holy shit. Please.
But also 5-inch
Please.
wheels would be useless.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to text ChatGPT just to see what crude imagery pops up. Continue.
Okay, I will.
I'm sorry.
So this movement was driven largely by the post office so that they could promise free rural mail delivery, because otherwise, like, their cars and their carriages and whatever, like, couldn't access a bunch of, like, most farm roads and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the post office spearheaded this, I think, for the most part, but also like farmers and bicyclists organizations, because they also wanted easier access to roads.
Yeah.
And
okay.
at that point, it was the majority of the roads in the US were like essentially inaccessible easily.
Okay.
Also, education progressive movements that wanted to provide rural populations with the same opportunities as urban populations. So
Interesting.
when you think about it, like the advances of roads,
Mm-hmm.
it was important to put pressure on like state and federal governments to improve roads for a bunch of reasons.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, it was to give people who lived in rural areas the same access and the same benefits and opportunities as people in urban areas that had good roads and also, like, you know, public transportation.
Got it. Okay.
So FAM's annual membership dues were $2.
Mm-hmm.
They had several committees such as membership, competition, roads, touring and hotels, and legal action. There was like there was a big to-do about motorcycles at this time.
They dipped their toes in a lot of different ponds.
They really did. There were a lot of like subcommittees.
Who knew that they'd be so like influential?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a surprise.
Well, we'll kind of get to it, but it was surprising to me that this kind of developed this early, because FAM was like established in 1903.
True.
And we'll kind of get to like the post-war era.
Got it.
So by 1915, FAM was recorded to have 8,247 members.
Mm-hmm.
But FAM was actually shut down in 1919 because of World War I, basically taking away all of its members because they were all like dudes.
Okay.
Who were drafted or who went to war.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
On November 15th, 1916, the Motorcycle and Allied Trades Association, or the M&ATA, was founded. So when FAM eventually shut down...
M&Ms.
Oh, God. I have a family-size zip-top bag of M&Ms in my cabinet right now.
You beast.
You beast. So when FAM eventually shut down, the M&ATA, the M&M, was left with no counterpart organization to represent individual riders. So the M&ATA began registering riders and clubs, basically taking over FAM's responsibilities.
Okay, so FAM's out.
FAM's
M&M
out.
is in.
M&M is in. In 1919, it began issuing national championship medals. So, like, I took that to mean it was recognizing sanctioned events like races and stuff. So this competition committee within the M&M recognized 11 national championships that same year in 1919, and 5 years later,
one a month.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
And by 1924, 5 years later, it had over 10,000 members. So it exploded.
This was like a movement.
Yeah.
This is the movement that fam had always wanted but couldn't pull off, and now Eminem is slaying the game.
Yep. So this Eminem like subcommittee that sanctioned these races later became the American Motorcycle Association, or the AMA, in May of 1924, which still exists today and is quite robust. So the AMA lives.
Yeah, the AMA has like chapters in every major city, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it's the AMA that's referenced in my case.
Okay, but the
and my
AMA
case is not about the AMA like being like criminal or anything. It just it's just mentioned.
So the AMA basically just registers motorcyclists and also monitors like the contests, the racing, all that stuff.
I'm interested in getting my motorcycle license, and so I can maybe circle back and answer this question for myself later. But I wonder if, because in most states, at least in Minnesota, you have to get your motorcycle, like your specific motorcycle license, and it requires classes and a road test, just like driver's ed, but for motorcycles. So, and then you go and you apply, like once you pass, you apply to have this like added in addition to your driver's license. I wonder if at that point when you're like at the DMV and you're like, I got an A, and you're able to get your actual motorcycle license, if there's like an opportunity to sign up, to register, quote unquote, with the AMA at the same time. Or if the AMA has access to like motorcycle license registration, and that's part of how it's such a robust, like,
that's a very
thing.
good question.
You know?
I would assume that
because otherwise, who's registering for that other than people who are like obsessed with their motorcycles? But I mean, I wouldn't think to register with a club on my own.
Well, we will get to the motivations behind people who register for these clubs and people who don't register for these clubs.
Okay.
I also don't believe that the AMA is part of like a government entity, so I don't think that that like a driver's license application would overlap with that kind of membership. But
got it.
Also, neither does like organ donation, and that does
but
overlap.
That goes on your license. Yeah, so maybe we'll see. I was hoping that could be a summer project for me, because when I get rootin' and scooting, Mama want to go fast.
Yeah, well, this Mama prays for you. I want you to do whatever you want to do.
Right,
because,
and you don't want me to die. I get
feminism.
it. Feminism. Right.
I think statistically,
it's a terrible idea.
It scares me. As long as you have the appropriate gear. And I know you always wear your helmet.
I always wear my helmet. I'm going to get tricked out in the gear.
Yeah.
I'll wear a bubble. I'll wear a bubble suit.
I'm choosing to believe you.
Bounce off the highway.
Thus far have one friend who's passed away on a motorcycle accident, but that's only one. Mm-hmm. Out of all the friends that I have, it's
your quota
very
is
low.
filled. Your quota is filled for a lifetime.
That's like 20% of my friends.
What that tells me is that it's impossible statistically for me to pass away from a motorcycle accident, because you already have one friend who did it.
That is how it works.
I think this is the best time for me to get my motorcycle license.
You're not wrong. Okay, so the AMA's original slogan was, quote, "An organized minority can always defeat an unorganized majority." It doesn't really slide off the tongue. But today,
it's not wrong.
They've workshopped it, and today their slogan is "Rights, Riding, Racing."
Oh, that long one was literally their slogan, not like their bio.
That was their slogan. That was their original, like, 1919 slogan.
But yeah, that's really long. The updated one is much cleaner.
3 hours.
3 hours.
So the AMA strived for broader acceptance and wanted to promote a positive image of motorcycling. Okay. This positive image portrayed riders as safe, responsible, considerate citizens who, quote, present a good appearance to the public. Because they knew that, like, previous previous to this organization, motorcyclists were sort of seen as kind of loud, disrespectful, deviant.
I'd argue they're
whatever.
still seen that way. I mean, I think motorcyclists could be huge fucking douchebags.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
So their early statements dealt with the safe and responsible operation of vehicles, particularly on the subject of noise. So this is from the AMA's website. Quote, concern about the negative effect of exhaust cutouts. So the revving and the motorcycle noise.
Yep.
Led the association to develop its muffler mic campaign in 1948 that invited members to take a pledge for quiet riding.
Oh my God.
In 1961, a more all-encompassing campaign titled Put Your Best Wheel Forward went a few steps
high wheel.
High wheel. Your best 5-inch wheel. So this campaign went a few steps further by encouraging all motorists to present a good appearance to the public, not only by their personal appearance, but also by their riding habits in such measures as safety, mufflers, special consideration of quiet zones, and a very vaguely stated many other ways.
And much, much more.
Well, we'll kind of get back to the muffler mic and the put your best wheel forward in a minute.
I love put your best wheel forward.
I know. That was in the 60s, too. Sorry.
So cute.
Yes, 1961.
I love that.
So backing up a little bit, World War II also boosted the motorcycle industry as the U.S. military called on manufacturers such as Harley-Davidson and Indian to produce over 100,000 motorcycles for the war. Motorcycles were being bulked up, and Harley-Davidson produced the Knucklehead engine, which made the motorcycle more powerful and more reliable. Motorcycles were also redesigned to have leather saddlebags and rifle scabbards, so like things to hold guns.
Oh, wow.
When the World War II
now
veterans,
they can hold your Stanley Cup.
Not even. This is too heavy.
It's too thick. The thing's like a fucking cannon.
It's triple insulated, babe.
Okay.
When World War II,
you're such a mom.
Such a Stanley mom.
She's not a regular mom. She's a Stanley mom.
I can't bring it with me though, because it does not fit into my cup holder by any measure.
No, they make the Stanley Cup holder extenders. You can get a third-party cup holder insert.
I can't.
That can hold your Stanley.
I cannot go there. That's what my white Stanley's for.
I'm gonna get you one. Now I know for the rest of time, if I don't know what to get you as a gift, it's just gonna be an obscure Stanley accessory. Like, you've created a monster.
It's so big. I love it.
It's ridiculous.
If it were made by any other brand, I would love it just as much. It just so happens to be Stanley. And have this really convenient straw and the thing that twists.
Listen.
And the handle. I love it.
I can't with you.
Stanley, reach out to us because I will sing your praises all day long. They don't need it. Okay.
Oh my God.
So when World War II veterans returned to the U.S., many regular folks were shocked to see these vets take over the streets with their army surplus of motorcycles.
Oh, okay. So this was a huge boom in just the everyday use because they were left over after the war.
And not only that, so these motorcycles were much cheaper than cars, and they afforded the veterans a mode of group transportation and therefore the camaraderie reminiscent of the better social aspects of the war. They wanted to team up. They wanted to fly in their flocks. Also,
this is making it make so much more sense why motorcycle gangs that like
are
volunteer
super nationalistic, patriotic.
Well, there are some that are like that, and there's two sides of the coin. There's like those like white supremacist, white nationalist loser subset. But then there are also other ones that are more living the actual values of protecting and serving their community.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are motorcycle gangs that will show up to like be
like cop funerals and stuff.
Well, not even cop funerals. I've seen motorcycle gangs that have rolled up to be part of like anti-pro-life pro-life counter protesting outside of like reproductive health clinics.
There's a huge political aspect to motorcycle clubs.
I guess I've seen some like woke motorcycle clubs that do some like actually amazing activism in their communities. And that link to like the community and camaraderie of war and like serving a purpose
absolutely
makes so much sense as to where that line.
I mean, I would argue that all motorcycle clubs are political in some way. And then by maybe any that claim to be apolitical, it's kind of political.
That's their stance
in itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of the veterans, the leather flight jackets of returning World War II airmen soon became the natural choice for many motorcyclists.
Makes sense.
Also helps with road rash or whatever. If you wipe out on your bike, leather's like the best thing to be wearing, right?
Truly. Yes. You want to be layered, but yes, leather should be your top piece.
According to the International Journal of Motorcycle Studies, who knew?
That's actually my major is in International Journal of Motorcycle Studies.
Yes, your major is in this journal.
I'm a scientist.
It was the 1947 Hollister Gypsy Tour. And
like the brand?
I don't know if the brand was based. No, Hollister is the name of the town. But there was a quote unquote gypsy tour that a lot of the motorcycle groups like took part in.
Okay, that's what it was just called then.
That's what it was called then. I think it's my understanding that it was just a big like tour across the country.
Okay,
or, like through a region or something.
And I mean, they're just using that term because it's like this nomadic, motorcycle trip. Yeah,
there were several gypsy tours. We won't get into the problematic aspect of that. But in 1947, in this town called Hollister, the gypsy tour went through, and this was a turning point in motorcycle history. So it was the catalyst for future motorcyclists' association with chaos, havoc, rabble-rousing shenanigans. So at this event, the small town of Hollister had 5,000 residents, and the town became overwhelmed with about 4,000 riders who were just passing through. It's just a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
And this wasn't the first gypsy tour or the first time Hollister had hosted motorcycle races, but at this particular date and time, there was a ton of drinking, fighting, and street racing, which led to a lot of trouble. There were also outlaw biker clubs, which were clubs that were not sanctioned by the AMA. So that's what we're calling the outlaw biker clubs.
Okay.
So some of these outlaw biker clubs in attendance include the Pissed Off Bastards of Bloomington.
Bloomington, Minnesota.
I assume so.
The
Market Street Commandos.
Okay.
The Booze Fighters.
All right.
And several more. This chaos led to 2 articles.
The Lollipop Guild. We're going to be non-registered, non-regulation.
Absolutely.
We don't adhere to anybody's rules.
We need jackets.
We'll park on the sidewalk, damn it.
So this chaos led to 2 articles in the San Francisco Chronicle, which set off the Motorcyclists Association with wreaking havoc and defiance and all that stuff. Like it was a shit show. This also set off many within the motorcyclist community who wanted a clear distinction between the law-abiding motorcyclists and the outlaw motorcyclists. So like you need to differentiate because we're not all like this. And so these efforts eventually led to the put your best wheel forward that I mentioned earlier. Put your best 5-inch wheel forward.
Put your best wheel forward.
According to a document released by the U.S. Department of Justice titled Outlaw Motorcycle Gangs USA Overview, there are 5 quote-unquote official outlaw motorcycle gangs in the U.S. today. They describe these outlaw motorcycle gangs as organizations whose members use their motorcycle clubs as conduits for criminal enterprises such as violent crime, weapons trafficking, and drug trafficking.
Oh, yeah.
And probably human trafficking and all sorts of other shit. So these gangs include the Hells Angels. I'm going to come back to the Hells Angels. The Pagans, the Outlaws, the Banditos, and the Sons of Silence. So according to this document, the Hells Angels are the world's largest, most organized, and wealthiest motorcycle gang. Unlike most outlaw motorcycle gangs, the Hells Angels don't have a national or international president, but instead have regional officers chosen to represent various chapters at regional meetings. And according to the Hells Angels website, which, by the way, is hells-angels.com. And this is where I'm coming back to the horrible website.
I was just going to ask, should I go?
Yes, because
Hells-angels.
this... Okay, I'm going to hells-angels.com.
I don't like... Oh, no.
Okay, so
I was like, it's taking so long to load. Yeah, because of this fire GIF that it has as its fucking...
The fire GIF is sucking up all of its bandwidth.
All of its emails.
If you go to the top and go to Our Club and go down to bars, most of they're literal bars that are like friendly to bikers.
Okay. This just looks like a menu at a diner.
Almost all of them are the other
place. You can't even click them.
And they're not clickable. They're broken links. They're horrible, like code.
It's just HTML. Like,
this
terrible.
Is
really bad. Did you screenshot this for the drive? Because I'm going to.
You do it. Just do it. They also have merch.
This is so embarrassing. I love this.
They have a guest.
Are we going to get taken out by Hells Angels because we're making fun of their
I mean, just
shitty
get
website.
a better web designer. Also, their guest book is limited to like certain languages. I don't know.
This is embarrassing.
They are
Hells
international.
Angels.
I just invest in somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing.
Invest.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm also uploading the AI picture that I asked for earlier.
Thank God.
I didn't get good results, but I am uploading it.
So according to this ratchet Hells Angels website, they are present
This is definitely a Hells Angels website. This is not the Hells Angels website.
They are present in 5 continents, 62 countries, and have 475 charters worldwide. I think that meant to say chapters worldwide.
Well, they'll get to it.
So
they'll fix it in post.
Some of these outlaw motorcycle gangs can be identified by a 1% patch. So if you've ever seen that,
we'll talk about the 1%.
So this 1% patch refers to a comment by William Barry, who was a former AMA president, in which he said that 99% of motorcyclists were law-abiding citizens. So this obviously notably excluded 1%, which implied that the patch wearer is an outlaw. So nowadays, the main difference between an outlaw club and a non-outlaw motorcycle club is their adherence to the law and their relationship with society.
Okay.
So that is essentially my background on
Love it.
Motorcycle clubs, motorcycle gangs.
Motorcycle.
We see where it came from. We see how it's been perpetuated. We get the 1%.
Yep. I think those are probably the most important tidbits.
And also, if anyone out there listening is a member of Hells Angels, please,
we're curious.
The HTML.
We're curious how we can help you with your website because
very curious. I want you to
rough.
Succeed. Just kidding.
I
don't really. It's all human travel.
Well. There's
in
always,
theory.
There's always something. It is a lot of humans in traffic on their bikes.
I'll just say, in general, as an organization, you can do better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that is my segment.
Okay, are you ready for my case for this?
Yes.
Whole shebang.
I'm so ready.
This case is weird and silly.
Okay.
Well, and dark.
Love it.
It's bad. It's fine. Okay. I'm high.
Show,
and I'm trying
don't
to
tell.
Yeah, exactly. I think I nailed that. Okay. The Highwaymen are a notoriously rough and tumble motorcycle club founded in Detroit in 1954. Highwaymen Motorcycle Club was Detroit's most feared motorcycle gang, operating out of an ominous black-painted clubhouse in southwest Detroit where like a winged skeleton sign hangs above the door. Very witchy.
Okay. Don't approach.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely like, no girls allowed. To put
He-Man Woman's Hater Club.
He-Man Woman Haters Club for sure. To put rough and tumble into a perspective that we can all actually understand, the assistant U.S. attorney, Andrew Goetz, described some of the club's criminal past in a later court filing, saying, quote, they terrorized Southwest Detroit for decades through drug dealings, protection rackets, beatings, and theft. They referred to themselves as the One Percenter Club, which takes its name from a famous quote attributed to the American Motorcycle Association in the 1940s that 99% of bikers follow the law while 1% boasts of flouting the law. The gang became infamous in the 1970s when some members were convicted of bombing, raiding, and conducting drive-by shootings at the clubhouses of their rival gang members.
Good Lord.
And yes, I will only be picturing this case through the lens of Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet from here on out. Because that makes this a lot more palatable.
The like Hawaiian button-up shirts.
We need to do a rewatch of that.
It's that movie
bizarre.
Formed me as a child. Like
I associate that movie with you because I know how much you loved it.
I watched it in Blelly Blord's attic, and we had to have the subtitles on because I didn't know what the fuck they were saying.
Well, it's Shakespeare. You were like 11.
I know. I think to this day I wouldn't know what the fuck they were saying. But
Me either. I'm just reading Leo DiCaprio's body language.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Isn't
through the fish tank.
Yes. Isn't John Leguizamo in that too?
Yes.
Is he Mercutio or whatever? Mercutio?
Mercutio? I think. I don't remember.
Someone out there is screaming at us right now. Is it you? If it's you, you can add us.
John,
because we're not Googling it right now. Are you Googling it right now?
Yeah, he played the one that was like a cat. That's all I remember.
In Cats? Okay, moving on. There was another incident where several club members pulled up in front of an occupied Southwest Detroit home and fired 15 rounds indiscriminately into the house.
Mm.
And it's, assumed that people who lived in that home were of a rival club.
He was Tybalt.
Okay, got it. The Highwaymen were so violent and intense that they even managed to keep the dominant Hells Angels motorcycle gang off of their turf entirely in Detroit, which is like pretty shocking because I would imagine there were at this time a lot of Hells Angels.
Yeah, that's a big driving force.
Well, yeah, seeing as how Hells Angels was and remains like the biggest motorcycle club, and then Detroit is literally Motor City. Like cars and bikes are made there.
Very true. Very
true. So
they'd
probably they'd want to have a strong presence there. So I just feel like it puts into perspective that like they were so violent and intense that even the Hells Angels, which was the biggest ever in one of the most like important cities in the Midwest for the automotive industry, could still be held at bay by these fucking Looney Tunes. So the president of the Detroit Federation Motorcycle Clubs also outlawed the club and banned them from their federation, which like I can't tell how much power the president of the DFMC has, but at least he tried. It's like, you can't be associated with us. Fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, but like, what does your band mean? Like, you can't have our patch on your leather vest? Okay. Bye.
Yeah, but like we said in my segment, like a lot of this was so political that like people,
that being denounced.
People were paying attention to it, whether or not you were like a confirmed or an outlaw motorcycle gang.
I guess it's just this is not part, at least in my worldview, of like the current zeitgeist, like at all. I don't think about motorcycle gangs or motorcycle clubs like ever. It's not prominent in our media. It's not prominent in our news.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not prominent and effective in certain communities.
Oh, I'm sure. I guarantee it absolutely is. I think what I'm wondering is, at the time that this was such a big deal in the 70s and 80s, was it part of like the broader cultural zeitgeist in a way that it's not now? Now it seems more subset of, like you said, specific communities, often like freaking Proud Boy bullshit. This is obviously a huge part of their daily life and what kind of information and media they're taking in. But like wherever I'm getting my news and like watching my TikToks, I'm not seeing any of these fucking people.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm just curious.
In effect, it obviously kind of was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
it must have been
totally different time.
Yeah. So their antics were not just aimed at civilians or other rival club members. They also targeted law enforcement. In one incident in the 1980s, a DEA agent in charge of investigating the Highwaymen was shot as he drove to work, though not fatally. According to the Daily Beast, quote, "If you ratted out Detroit's notorious Highwaymen motorcycle club, you should know what to expect," members said. Snitches would wind up in a dumpster, one former member testified in a 2010 trial against the club's leadership. So like the DEA and the FBI had like informants, and they were reporting that like you don't want to, like, you'll get murdered if you're like talking about what's going on in this club.
Well, and if these clubs are committing crimes like, you know, if their whole like, you know, drugs and human trafficking and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah. Yeah, they have a lot to lose. So, of course, they're going to hold their shit tight.
Well, yeah. They're dealing in some wild criminal activity that would and does get them into a lot of fucking trouble, including literal murder. So they're basically the mafia on two wheels. Like the Highwaymen specifically, their big thing is like drugs, and racketeering, like shutting down and paying off informants and snitches. So the Highwaymen got away with so much, like time and time and time and time again. Like they were huge in the 70s, and we don't see anyone really prominent have their day in court until the early 2000s. Like they were getting away with this shit left and right.
Well, like, I guess like layering different people, like how do you know who's at the top?
Right.
Oh.
So partly this was due to the severity with which they dealt with suspected snitches like that I was mentioning just now. They would deliver beatings with fists, beer bottles, and chairs, which like it's giving WWE SmackDown. When they suspected that someone was a snitch, or if someone was behind on their like protection payments, then people would get the shit beaten out of them.
Ooh, protection payments.
Right. Finally, though, in May of 2007, the FBI arrested 40 members of the Highwaymen Club in a massive simultaneous raid.
Oh my God.
These individuals were charged with like everything that stuck, but the big things were racketeering, murder for hire, assault, drug trafficking, and fraud. The investigation, low-hanging fruit. I mean, when we think about the mob, like so much of this reminds me of the mob.
The racketeer,
The racketeer, like we couldn't take down fucking Al Capone for anything except his taxes. It was the tax man who took him down. So like fuck with the money. That's what they're going to get you on the stuff with the money.
Yep.
Because capitalism protects and cares about that more than the people you're actually killing. So the investigation that led to these charges took over 2 years, relying mainly on legal wiretaps. And the FBI had captured approximately 30,000 conversations. That doesn't even really give us a scope of how many minutes or hours of audio this was.
That's
that
more
they poured
conversations than I've ever had.
And we're podcasters. We have conversations for a living, and I don't think I've had 30,000 conversations.
That's my 30,000 conversations is my worst nightmare.
Yup. So 30,000 conversations over 2 years, and the tapes revealed that a leader of this motorcycle club, which we're about to meet him, was bragging about violent crimes that he had allegedly committed against those who had angered him, including a cook at a restaurant that this guy who was being recorded owned in Dearborn, Michigan.
Come on.
In one call, he claimed to have stabbed the cook and tossed him in a dumpster because they had a fight.
Oh my God.
Yeah. In another recorded conversation, this same guy gave a crony directions by referencing a location as right down there where I shot that guy. Which is like how I want directions.
It's not funny, but like,
yeah.
So pass on.
Past like the big boy donut sign, the one with the giant donut. Yep. Okay. So you take a left there, you go about 100 yards. It's like, by that dumpster. Yeah, where I shot that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to the right of where I shot that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, great, boss. I know exactly where that is.
Jesus Christ.
Don't
incriminate me.
Yeah, but yeah. So there were cooperative FBI informants, which like we'll get to it, but this was dicey. And one of these FBI informants was even murdered by the gang that he was discovered once he was discovered as an operative. So, not great.
Yeah, this is a well-oiled machine.
Yep. So the guy at the center of like all of these wiretap conversations was the Highwaymen's vice president at the time, a guy named Aref Nagi, who went by, or it might be Naji, who went by Scarface Steve. He was known for being absolutely ruthless about rooting out snitches. So again, from the Daily Beast.
I don't want to cross someone named Scarface.
Whose nickname is Scarface.
Right.
The club's leader, Aref Scarface Naji, was obsessed with hunting down the secret informants in their midst when federal investigators infiltrated the Highwaymen in preparation for a massive 2007 racketeering bust. But beneath Raji's search for so-called rats was a secret. And we will get to that secret.
Oh, good.
So the FBI had a number of these secret recordings of Naji ranting about potential leaks coming from inside the group. He was just like, he would not let go of this idea. And eventually, when the FBI raided the Highwaymen's clubhouse, they found a photograph of one of their 2 confidential informants with the word rat scrawled in black marker across his face.
Stop. This is a bad plot line.
Yeah, I wrote the ultimate entry into their clubhouse burn book.
Was it? She's a stupid slut face.
I can't remember what. Do not trust her.
Yeah.
She is a fugly slut.
Fugly slut. There we go.
So good. So yeah, the rat was a picture of that former FBI informant. The Guardian has so many good bites about this case, so I'm going to keep quoting them because they did such a great job. Quote, multiple witnesses testified that during the summer of 2006, there was a lot of talk at the Detroit chapter clubhouse about discovering and punishing a snitch or a rat. A judge wrote in an opinion in Naji's case, adding that a picture of the FBI informant was hanging behind the bar at the Detroit chapter clubhouse with rat written across it. So this is the very informant that landed Naji with the conspiracy to commit murder charge that he gets, because he was plotting to kill this guy who was an FBI informant.
Good
and
God.
Put a bounty out on his head.
Oh my God.
Yep. Yep. So the investigation continued after the initial mass arrest in 2007, and eventually the U.S. Attorney's Office would arrest a total of 91 alleged members of the club. So it started at 40.
You know what?
Yep. And then the investigation continues. They get a bunch of information out of that 40, and then they end up arresting 91 people. That's a lot of fucking
And then the
people.
information they get from the 91.
It just grows and grows and grows. In 2010, more than 30 highwaymen, Naji included, were convicted and sent to prison to serve lengthy sentences, usually in the ballpark of like 30 years. So pretty bad.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of years.
But a lot of them fucking earned it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not. Yeah.
You're out here trying to kill people and sometimes succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
But remember that secret I alluded to earlier?
I do.
It turns out that one of the confidential informants was Naji himself.
I'm not that surprised.
Right? He was like the epitome of the lady doth protest too much. Like,
Yeah.
I hate rats. I really do. If I ever see one, I'll squash him.
Dirty. Ew.
Bad. So, unfortunately, I guess, depending on how you look at this outcome is due to the fact that Naji may have been working all along with federal and local police agencies. Some of the highwaymen, some of the like 31 that are behind bars for like serious convictions, serving long sentences, are now being challenged in court, those sentences and those cases. Because the theory is that Naji could have been using his status as an informant to either like weed out folks that he wanted to be rid of, or I've informed on them before, I'm going to give this false testimony to try and reduce my sentence. So like,
Who's a rat now, Naji?
who's right now? So while I agree that folks should have new trials in light of the possible like sketchiness of this whole thing, it could also lead to actual violent offenders' convictions being overturned. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because maybe he did point the finger at some people who like, yeah, we're part of the highwaymen, so they're probably fucking pieces of shit, but they weren't murdering anyone.
Also, to throw that whole thing out for however many people, like
91 arrests and 31 people behind bars.
that's gonna cause some problems.
Yeah, it's pissing a lot of people off. So who ratted out the Rat King? A fellow convicted highwayman named Gary Ball Jr., who, from prison, used Michigan's Freedom of Information Act to uncover Scarface Steve Naji's hidden connection with investigators.
Stop!
He literally just scoured paperwork and found the trail while he had plenty of free time, like bored off his ass and pissed off in prison. So he filed an FOIA to Michigan from prison and got these stacks, got it approved and got these stacks of files. And this is what he was working on. And he found evidence that Naji was a fucking informant the whole time.
If I can be unbiased as towards the morals of this, that is, of course, amazing.
I love it. It's brilliant. So the FOIA request included a police profile that revealed that Naji, the sworn enemy of snitches, had once worked with a federal agency as a secret informant.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Oh.
So Ball, I know. What a dum-dum. Like literally the call is coming from inside of the house, bitch.
That's incredible. Awful. Incredible.
It can be both. So Ball Jr. is currently serving a 30-year sentence for racketeering, conspiracy to transport stolen vehicles, drug trafficking conspiracy, and conspiracy to obliterate vehicle identification numbers.
Classic Ball.
Typical Ball Jr.
Vintage Ball.
Vintage Ball Jr. BJR.
BJR.
But Ball Jr. is now gunning for a new trial in light of Naji's involvement, because a lot of what Naji's testimony or like snitching is what put Ball Jr. behind bars in the first place. So there's a hearing scheduled that hasn't happened yet to consider this request, focusing on legal irregularities that he himself uncovered through the FOIA, including
oh my God.
the fact that defense attorney Lawrence Shulman, who was representing Ball Jr., also represented a co-defendant named Randy McDaniel, and Ball Jr. never knew that he was being represented as a co-defendant with another defendant by the same attorney.
What?
Like Shulman, his attorney just didn't tell him that. And co-defendants don't always have to go to court together.
No, yeah, but
so that he just didn't know.
That's
because they had separate trial court dates.
Oh my
It's God. So stupid. Court records also show that Shulman managed to cut a deal for this other client, the co-defendant, Randy McDaniel, that resulted in Randy's Highwaymen case being dropped because he was also part of another federal case against him.
But not Ball Jr.'s?
But no such deal was offered for Ball Jr.
You know what?
Yeah, Shulman fucked him over, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. You fucked Ball.
You fucked Ball Jr. Lawrence fucked Ball.
Lawrence fucked Ball.
Shulman, for his part, denies, of course, that there was ever a conflict of interest, saying of his former client, Ball Jr., quote, "I went to the mat for him during his trial and left it all on the floor."
Okay.
Fucking sports.
Okay.
Yeah. That's enough.
Leave the sport illusions out of it.
Yeah, we're good without those cute little quips. You sound dumb. Mm-hmm. According to Ball Jr.'s new attorney, a man named David Schoen, the Shulman lawyer conflict alone should be enough to get Ball Jr. a new trial. But like I mentioned before, the revelation that Naji was also an informant has the potential to undo a lot of these other convictions as well.
Yeah.
And Schoen tells reporters in an interview, this whole case is a mess. There's so much red string now that's unraveling because of this. So, this is amazing. I can't believe this next part. Naji and his defense attorney, a man named James Thomas, actually led defense strategy meetings with his other co-defendants, other people that were in this gang. And Naji, having been, I guess, the president of the Hellfires, or the fuck their name is, was it was agreed upon that he's going to be the defense team leader. If he's at the top of the food chain out there, he's also at the top of the food chain among all these other co-defendants in this case.
Okay.
So throughout the course of all this back and forth, Ball Jr. and the other defendants disclosed a lot of information to Naji and his attorney, because it's if you're representing all of us under the umbrella of this case, we're going to tell you everything that we know.
Oh.
But their supposed confidential disclosures were likely being fed directly to the FBI and prosecutors and potentially used against them in favor of Naji for giving up yet more information on his buddies to get a shorter sentence.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but that's not even the wildest part.
Oh no.
So Naji, who hates rats, is the ultimate rat, and he's still ratting to help himself in trial, which I think is fucking hilarious.
He's just siphoning information to the FBI.
Yup. And when Ball Jr. was hey, lawyer, this guy's been a rat from the beginning. Go tell him that we know he's a fucking rat and that we're not with him anymore. And Naji's attorney, James Thomas, vehemently denies that his client ever acted as a police informant and even swore so on an affidavit.
Lawyers can lie.
His proof, it's not proof, his theory is amazing. So he's theorizing and swore to this that the FOIA request revealing the name of one of the informants was indeed the name RF Naji. But Naji's lawyer claims that this must be a different individual in the Detroit area, also named RF Naji, who also just happens to share the same birthday.
And happens to be interested in the same case.
Yep.
You fucking
and happens to be
kidding.
previously convicted of the same crimes. So he's no, it's gotta be a different RF Naji. There's no way. There's no way.
Out of the realm of imagination.
Okay, imagination, yes. Possibility.
Oh my God.
It's out of the realm.
Oh my God.
Quote, Naji's lawyer, who did not return a request for comment, told the Free Press that Naji had never been a law enforcement informant and that perhaps Ball Jr. had accidentally received a file on the wrong RF Naji from the Detroit area. But Ball Jr.'s FOIA also contained old mugshots of Naji, so his picture, and listed his birthday correctly.
How far you gotta go, lawyer?
Right? The
How
RF
far?
The RF Naji in the FOIA he received has a birth date of August 17th, 1963, and detailed how in 1992, Naji arranged for delivery of 2 kilos of cocaine in a shopping center parking lot, and then promptly gave the signal for Troy police officers and the DEA to swoop in. So, like, yeah, it's the same guy. He was working with the cops, at least when it was convenient for him to do so. And there was a history of him way back in the 90s working with the cops. That's in the FOIA. So, like, it's you, dude.
It's a very long trail.
Very long on the counter. Trail. It wasn't me. Somebody got on the sofa.
It wasn't me.
I even had her in the shower.
It was a Naji.
It wasn't Naji. It wasn't Naji. I can't. So, unlike James Thomas, federal prosecutors do not deny Ball Jr.'s allegations against Naji or his role as a police informant, but they do downplay its significance, likely because none of them really want to reopen all of this shit that took years in the first place and risk, like, fucking with their conviction stats, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I think now that we have this information, whether we like it or not, that's how the justice system works. We have to give these folks a proper trial with this all out in the open. Even if it doesn't necessarily change the results, it needs to happen.
Yeah. At least it has to be on record.
Exactly, because that's how justice should fucking work.
Should.
So, yeah, exactly. Big should. U.S. Attorney Graveline said that the fact that Naji was convicted and handed a lengthy prison sentence, because he also got he got 37 years, which we'll get to, proves in and of itself that he did not cooperate with law enforcement. But I disagree with this, and I think this just falls under the umbrella of, like, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Just because you got a lengthy sentence doesn't mean it wouldn't have been worse for you if you hadn't snitched on your buddies, and now people are mad at you from all sides because you snitched on your buddies. So, like, it's a snake eating its own fucking tail. But I don't necessarily think that the length of conviction alone is proof that he didn't cooperate with law enforcement. They don't give a fuck about you. They'll put you away as long as they possibly can under any circumstances. I don't care how much you informed. Anyway, Scarface Steve had originally been sentenced 37 years in prison, but that was later reduced to 27 years after an appeal. And then in 2016, Naji's sentence was cut down again to 20 years based on submissions from his lawyer citing his exemplary conduct in federal prison.
Oh.
So, like, the next question was, did he or did he not at 2 bananas this whole fucking thing? And
he did, though, right?
Right. At this point, quote, we don't know for sure because so much has to go back to trial. But, like, I'm saying it, yeah, he absolutely fucking did. It's, like, in the Foia. So, like, what do you mean? You know, the other defendants in this case sitting in prison also believe that he fucking did because he fucking did. So Ball Jr.'s attorney Schoen thinks that he should have a chance to question Naji and James Thomas, the other lawyer, under oath. Schoen says, quote, the overriding point is the defendants are entitled to know this stuff and it was never disclosed. So that puts James Thomas in a bad, like, if you don't turn things over in discovery and they find out that you didn't.
Oh, it's
like,
bad.
You're fucked, dude. Like, you could have prison time for that. And you are not going to practice law anymore. You can't do shit like that. And since Gary Ball Jr. himself raised this issue, 2 other imprisoned highwaymen, Leonard Moore, who was nicknamed Dad. He's on the drive. You can see a picture of Leonard Dad Moore. He was dubbed the club's godfather. And the club's former national president, Joseph Little Joe Whittling, have filed similar arguments in court to get new trials.
Okay, Dad does look like a dad, though.
He does. Such a dad.
Well,
gross.
He looks like a scary dad. Gross
yeah,
dad.
They're all gross.
I don't like the dad.
There's not a cutie in the patootie. Not a single one of the bunch.
Looks like a dad, but not my dad or your dad.
No.
Thank God.
No, not a gentle dad. Moore's attorney said that Mr. Ball and Mr. Moore were constitutionally entitled to know that Naji had been in the government's employ as a cooperating witness. And that's true. They were entitled to fucking know that. In November of 2021, a federal judge ordered the release of RF Scarface Steve Naji on the grounds of compassionate release, citing his health in the face of the coronavirus pandemic.
That's nice.
His lawyer claimed that his longtime use of steroids could leave him with a compromised immune system, which is especially dangerous during COVID. My client, he's too roided out. He'll never survive the corona.
He's abused too many drugs in the past. Dangerous.
Truly. The judge also cited Naji's astounding effort, I'm burping, towards rehabilitation while in prison. And his prison records do show that he stayed busy because he took a ton of classes from basic math and history to business, wellness, problem solving, and also law. I mean, what else are you going to do while you're in there?
Yeah.
He also completed vocational apprenticeships in trades, including culinary arts, automotive technology, and industrial housekeeping.
I fucking would too, because again,
I would learn every skill.
Nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to do. I would learn every skill. So after being initially sentenced to 37 years in prison, including murder for hire, he ended up serving 11 years. So I think he's fucking fine.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
My favorite part of that is like, oh, no. That's not RF Naji. That's a different RF Naji.
That's a different RF Naji, the same birthday and the same
I know, it's so weird, right? It's so weird. We thought it was weird too. Like, we ran into each other at the bar. It was
the car
crazy.
Rolled 3 times.
The car rolled 3 times. And my son had to go get the car. I'm under a lot of stress. So that's my case.
Good God. I mean,
yeah,
that does illustrate how high up this shit goes and how deep it is.
It's organized crime. It's a mob on wheels. But your best tire forward.
But not all motorcycle clubs are like that.
Certainly not. Not the Lollipop Guild.
Always put your best wheel forward.
The only crime we commit is the crime of too many smiles and too much laughter.
Oh, too much wine.
That's so you can take that to the bank.
Well, thank you so much to Justin White for our very special fan pick this week. And
God
thank
bless
you for listening. White. And wear your helmet, wear your leather.
Yeah.
And
wear your tassels.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.